So Lana Del Rey's 9th studio album, Did You Know That There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, is finally out, and it's pretty good. But anybody could have guessed that based on the fact that 1, it's Lana Del Rey, who now for over a decade has been putting out some of the best albums in pop music, and 2, the singles for the album were very strong. But this isn't a review of the whole album or anything like that. What we're going to do today is take a deep dive into one of the album's singles and its strongest moment, A&W, which I think may be the finest thing that she's ever put out. The song blends elements from folk, indie, pop and trap, and sits at the longer end of her output, at 7 minutes and 13 seconds long. The song's in B-flat major, and it begins fading in with some acoustic guitars, but it really begins with the entrance of the piano. I wouldn't be the first to point out that the instrumentation here is a little reminiscent of songs like Going to California by Led Zeppelin, not ripping them off or anything, but paying homage to that earlier style of folk rock. The introduction, as with the verse, alternates between the tonic and the minor subdominant chord. I've talked about the minor subdominant chord a lot before on this channel, it seems to crop up in a lot of my favourite songs. But in short, the plagal cadence from the subdominant or the 4 chord to the tonic or the 1 chord has a sense of closing in or darkening. In B-flat major, this would be an E-flat chord to a B-flat chord. However, making the E-flat chord an E-flat minor chord means that it's a plagal cadence with 2 descending semitones rather than 1. Giving it a more powerful voice leading closer to that of a perfect cadence, whilst retaining the darkness of a plagal cadence. The main riff of the verse begins on the E-flat minor chord, in the middle of the progression, which keeps the introduction from getting too stagnant. About 38 seconds into the song, Lana's voice begins, starting relatively low in her range. The first 2 lines of the song are only the tonic, B-flat, and A-flat, the flat 7th of B-flat major.
I haven't done a cartwheel since I was 9.
What was implied earlier in the 1 minor 4 progression becomes concrete here, that the verse is in a mode called Mixolydian flat 6. This mode has actually got a few names, including but not limited to Aeolian dominant and melodic major. It doesn't really matter which one you call it, but we'll call it Mixolydian flat 6 here because it makes the most sense since the song moves to straight up Mixolydian later. The scale is, as the name implies, a Mixolydian scale with the 6th degree flattened, in this case looking like this. It's a mode of the melodic minor. If you play a melodic minor scale but start on the 5th degree of the scale rather than the 1st, that's your Mixolydian flat 6 scale. In this case, it's a mode of E-flat melodic minor. She sings, I haven't done a cartwheel since I was 9. I haven't seen my mother in a long time. This paints a picture of someone whose childhood and accompanying childhood innocence has been left a long time ago. This raises a theme in A&W that a lot of people haven't really touched on too much, which is age and aging. Lana talks about her mother a lot in her work, and it's not really mine nor anybody else's business to pry into their relationship, but it certainly is a recurrent theme in her work, such as in her poem LA, Who Am I to Love You, from her 2020 collection Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass, where she writes that she never had a mother. The first 2 lines of the verse, as I said, sit lower in her vocal range, but after this she jumps up exactly an octave and a half, a compound tritone, to deliver a descending line.
Look at the length of my hair.
The piano part plays an extra couple of demi-semiquavers in the second bar of this higher line, which creates an effect of almost skipping a little, making the song sound a little disjointed and uneasy.
My face, shape of my body.
In the first line of the second half of the verse, she sings G naturals over the E-flat minor chord, which doesn't sound too grating because the voicings never actually have the G flats and G naturals overlapping.
My face, shape of my body.
This note is from the B-flat Mixolydian scale, not the B-flat Mixolydian flat 6, signalling a move away from this to a purer Mixolydian sound, although it should be noted that in the final line of the verse she does return to singing G flats. If you are enjoying this video so far, please do feel free to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and when you finish this video go and check out some of my other videos. In the pre-chorus, the chord progression goes 1, 3, flat 7, 6. This natural 6th of the major scale moves further to a pure Mixolydian sound and away from the Mixolydian flat 6 sound, leading on from those natural 6s from the end of the verse. The other interesting thing about this chord progression is the use of 1 to 3, which has got to be one of the best chord changes there is in my opinion. Here's a list of a few songs that make extensive use of this great chord change. In my opinion, it's the saddest chord change that you can get whilst maintaining a major tonality. Since the root of the 1 chord falls by a semitone to the 5th of the 3 chord, the anchoring root of the tonic has been lost, creating a kind of really sad sounding moment on the 3 chord. Lana emphasises this chord change by moving the melody to this exact note, the 5th of the 3 chord, in this case A, harmonising it in thirds. She continues harmonising in thirds for the rest of the pre-chorus, and we get little pockets of dissonance heard in the guitar, such as the sharp 11 heard over the A-flat major chord in the third bar of the pre-chorus. Here she sings about saying she lives in the small Californian city of Rosemead, where she really lives in one of the Ramada hotels within it, raising connotations of a quiet, suburban city, contrasting with the American whore living out of hotels. The first two lines of the chorus see the piano riff from the verses return, though Lana sings a different melody here. The harmony in the main part of the chorus makes use of the ever popular on this channel chromatic mediants. A chromatic mediant of a chord is a chord that's either a third or a sixth away, with one common tone and matching tone qualities. Lana also mixes the two modes that the song has been comprised of so far, pulling the G flat chord from the Mixolydian flat 6 mode, and the E flat chord from the Mixolydian. The very start of the melody clashes with the chord, with the D natural in the melody rubbing against the D flat of the G flat chord, something that's resolved as Lana falls to the B flat, the third of the G flat chord. As the chorus progresses, the instrumentation gets sparser, with the guitar eventually dropping out completely, and the piano dropping to just a hollow sounding open fifth in the low register before it too drops out completely.
This is the experience of being an American whore.
She sings the refrain of the song here. This is the experience of being an American whore. The word experience is something that happens to someone defined by external forces. The ultimate meaning of the song, at least in the first half, sees Lana accepting the Lana Del Rey that has been defined by the public, the media, and even her own work. Even if that person is not who she truly is, she resigns herself and accepts her role as this construct of the American whore. This American whore is what the A&W, the title, stands for, probably called A&W rather than American whore, both for practical purposes. Promoting a song with the word whore in the title is bound to introduce some frustrating roadblocks, and due to Lana's penchant for drink-themed names like Diet Mountain Dew, Cola, and now A&W, famed for their root beer. We get another few verses and choruses where the music largely remains the same, save for a few minor alterations in instrumentation, vocal ad-libs and harmonies, but largely the only thing which changes is the lyrics. Lana sings about the 2015 film Teenage Diary of a Girl.
Watching Teenage Diary of a Girl, wondering what went wrong.
A film whose ultimate message is self-acceptance and fulfillment coming from within rather than externally. Lana's 37 now, far off from being the titular teenage girl, and a semblance of self-acceptance is only manifesting itself now, leaving a hollow gap between the Lana singing and a young girl, like a very long lost weekend. I think this is what she's getting at in the third verse as well, when she describes not coming forward about rape due to knowing she won't be believed. She's been moulded into someone that will never be believed, America's whore. Eventually we move into the outro section of the song, which is a radical departure from the more folk-sounding beginning. The last repetition of the chorus pulls us into this, with a familiar melody and chord structure, but the instrumentation being entirely electronic here, with only a bass synth, bass drum, and another bass synth playing semiquavers being present in this. We get a simple kick clap pattern in the drums, along with a simple bass part playing octaves, going C, B flat, A, B flat. The C here becomes the tonic, with a C Mixolydian feel in this part, shifting up a whole tone from the tonal centre of B flat we've had so far. The song's near rapping at this point as a departure from the rest of the song with its more melodic flavour, with Lana mostly just singing the tonic of C, with little pockets of singing B flat as well. She occasionally moves this melody a step down, which, since it then rests on the flat 7 of B flat, makes the melody feel a little bit more tense. This is accompanied by a highly syncopated and slightly distorted snare, creating an ever tenser building up sound in this part. After she speaks, "Your mum called, I told her you're fucking up big time," we get a string section where the highs and lows have been cut off, creating a thinner, over-the-phone kind of effect. Because she's singing about a phone call, so this over-the-phone sound obviously works very well. But also because the thin sound provides an effective contrast to the rich bass sound heard earlier in the outro. Also, since the strings are an acoustic instrument, a transition from this wholly electronic trap section to acoustic instruments like earlier in the song might seem a little jarring, but putting this effect on it keeps it feeling a little bit unnatural, and therefore fitting in with the electronic, trap-based second half of the song. Lots of people have been saying that the string section is sampled from the title track of Norman fucking Rockwell, Lana's 6th album from back in 2019.
Cause you're just a man, it's just what you do.
There's certainly a bit of resemblance to the kind of string-based aesthetic, and maybe I'm just going insane, but I literally cannot for the life of me find this sample that everybody online seems to be claiming. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that it's not a sample of Norman fucking Rockwell and is just a unique string part made for this song. Not that Lana doesn't self-sample, in fact on this very album she does right at the end. A more direct reference that she does make here is to the 1959 song Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Bop by Little Anthony and the Imperials, showing her older links to a 1950s American aesthetic.
Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa pop, shimmy, shimmy, pop.
Thank you very, very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do check out some of my other videos, leave a like, leave a comment. I reply to all of my comments, I try to anyway, and always love to hear what you guys have to say. Also feel free to subscribe, and thank you very, very much for watching.